Hi, welcome to the Market Alert for Monday, the 13th of April 2026. Let's kick off with what happened on Friday with the inflation numbers and then work our way through to what the latest news is. And it's not good news, which you probably already know. But anyway, during Friday, the software sector was slaughtered, semis surged, Bitcoin and bullion were bid as ceasefire holds ahead of talks. That was until, of course, after the weekend, markets see two-way action as US-Iran ceasefire talks await. And then Trump was preparing US military if talks fail, proclaims Iran has no cards as delegates arrive. That was Vance and co. And then over the weekend, Vance says peace talks with Iran have ended after 21 hours without a deal. So that was a waste of time, wasn't it? And the latest is Trump doesn't care if Iran returns to talks as he vows to blockade Iranian ports from today. So what happened to bombing them out of existence, which is a relief, I might add, but is just a massive contradictions, isn't he? That's the only way to well, you could decide, call him a few other things, but a massive contradictions is probably the politest way of describing him at the moment. It's just insane, isn't it? Economic news for this week's not really going to make a lot of difference, is it? Let's just have a look at the Friday's inflation numbers from the US, and you will see there was no great shakes there at all compared to what was forecast of a 1% increase. Actually, it's not far off looking at year on year. 3.3, 2.4 was the previous forecast. So the fact that it came out lower than forecast is why the market was happy about it. So let's have a look at the markets and kick off with the Dow. So in the Dow, let's have a look at the daily chart to begin with and see where we are. You can see there's a gap there. Let me just make this a bit wider so you can see it. There's the gap there. So the market's trying to make its way back at the moment and fill the gap based upon the news that there is no deal and Trump's now going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. In the 30-minute chart, you can see the gap there. Big gap, but trying to make its way back there to the S2 and then hopefully the S1, and then the low in the market will keep moving back to the upside. Let's have a look at European markets and the German DAX. So in the German DAX, it too is showing a gap as well for Friday to Monday, the overnight open there. 30-minute chart, you can see that gap. And the market needs to get back and fill that. It needs to come back to at least the close for the German DAX there. So we'll look at the FT and the S&P 500. So in the S&P, it too showing a gap. They've all gapped because obviously of what's happened overnight. There's a gap there as well. Still above the S2 there for the 500, and in the FT 100, again, you can see the gap, and in the 30-minute, we've got the gap there more prominent. It's trying to make its way back, as you can see there, towards the S1 and the 200 MA. So nice bit of a bounce there in the 30-minute. Just go back to the daily and have a look. Yeah, we've got to get back above that 5-bar moving average there, which is in the pinkish maroon color. Let's have a look at the Nasdaq. So in the Nasdaq, also again the gap, and in the 30-minute, you can see how big that gap is. It's 100 points between these lines, so 200, 300, over 300 point gap in the Nasdaq during the overnight session there. Let's have a look at the crude oil market before we move along to the metals. So in the crude oil market, we can see the gap there. Obviously, it's shown a bit of red as well, so there's a bit of a pullback going on there. Let's have a look at that in a 30-minute chart. And there you can see that size of the gap there from $94 to, well, it's nearly a $9.5 rise in crude oil prices there because of the comments from Trump. I think he's just determined to reduce the whole of the global economy to absolutely wreck and ruin, isn't he? There are no words, to be honest with you. No words at all. The US dollar is also showing a bit of a move to the upside, but I'm surprised that we've not seen a bigger move. But like I say, the market probably doesn't believe what he's saying. He'll probably change his mind, send out a social media post later saying he's going to return and bomb them. So you just don't know, do you? The metals market's suffering as well. Not so much in Asia, 83.67. And in the UK, it's down at 74. This has not been updated yet. It's around 73.74. And then in Shanghai, there's a $9 premium between the two. And then the gold-silver ratio moving to the upside, which is what you would expect given the news overnight. What's the stress like in the deliverable silver? Sitting at 71 at the moment. So all very quiet as far as that's concerned as well. But let's have a look at the metals in a bit more detail and kick off with silver. So again, you can see that we've got prices gapping lower but making their way back, which is good news. Now you can see already more or less filling the gap, so hopefully it will stay this way. There's the gap in silver moving down and then rallying back off the S3 up to the S1. Depends whether they want to manipulate the price down later this morning when the LBMA fixed the price in London. But there in gold as well, you can see that gap more or less completed there. And then the 30-minute chart also doing the same there, but not as well as the silver market there in the 30-minute. You can see that's more or less closed the gap, whereas here in gold it's struggling a bit, which is probably why the gold-silver ratio is coming off just slightly there. Right, let's have a look at Friday's trades. So in the pre-market session, we see prices moving down towards the DP and the close of Thursday. The market then continues lower, finds a bit of support, makes its way back. We have a potential buy signal there. Market struggles at the DP and close, but manages to break through before further weakness comes in, and then we see the market trading sideways, offering another potential re-entry there. Market re-enters and again struggles with prices coming down sharply, and then once more we have another potential re-entry, but this time the stop is actually hit, I think, before the price is filled, and then we move up and we have another potential sell, but this time the market's now sideways and manages to bounce off this, as you'll see in just a moment, causing a loss, and then we get a re-entry for the buy side. This is as the stop is taken out before the entry is filled, and then we get a sell which moves down nicely before we get into the 10 mid-morning news. This was news about the talks, and obviously didn't hold for long, as prices then got into a sideways move, moving higher all the way back up to the previous day's high, and then on to the inflation numbers there, and then sideways. And then in the afternoon we moved lower with the Dow and US cash markets before we rallied to the upside once more, and the market ran out of steam, came back and retested this area, and then down to the close, and then further down the market went with the US there. Where are we at the moment overnight? Let's have a quick look. So in the German DAX at the moment, we're below the S2. I suppose we could head down towards the S3 as well, which is, let's have a look, 100, 200, 150 points lower there for the S3. We'll just have to wait and see if that is the case when the market's open. It's going to be an interesting one, and also keep in mind that the market's going to be all over the place today with spontaneous news and probably social media posts from Trump. So again, just as a heads up and a warning there. Right, that's it for this one. Like I say, we're in the lap of the gods. Let's see what happens, but remain positive and upbeat. And as ever, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.